WCNC Charlotte. This is Flashpoint, where power and politics collide and the tough questions get asked and answered.
Thanks for joining us here on Flashpoint. I'm Ben Thompson. Today, a one-on-one interview with the mayor of Charlotte. Vi Lyles, juggling a lot these days, from crime to funding public transportation. The mayor is in the hot seat about the best way to guide this rapidly growing city. Joining us now, the mayor of Charlotte, Vi Lyles. Mayor, welcome back to Flashpoint. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben, for having me this morning.
This past week, CAT started hosting a series of public meetings on the Red Line. Of course, it's the commuter line that would stretch from Uptown up to Mooresville. Granted, this is a big step, these public meetings, but after 20 years, taxpayers are understandably skeptical. Do you have a renewed confidence that this project is going to get off the ground?
And that is a great question, because I do believe that the people in the northern part of Mecklenburg County, especially in our towns, when we approved the half-cent sales tax, they thought they were going to get this line. And here we are decades later talking about this. So I am enthusiastic about the concept that we can make this happen this time. Now, there's a lot of runway that we're going to have to take to get to this point. But the thing that has really helped me understand is working with all of the mayors in Mecklenburg County, having them understand and be informed completely about what we're trying to accomplish as a region. And what we want to do is provide the kind of opportunities for mobility that lead to great economic development and better housing. So I'm working, and I am very excited about this idea that we are working now with all of the region, and we're working as well with Norfolk Southern. So step by step, that's what we do.
The sticking point with Norfolk Southern is that the city wants to use their line. And in the past, Norfolk Southern was not interested, and evidently they've expressed a more openness to it. Does it still stand? I mean, are they still open to working with the city?
We've had the opportunity to work with Norfolk Southern. I've had the CEO and the development VP in the office and talking about this over an extended amount of time. So I believe that what we would try to accomplish is to make sure that we have the track that's necessary to serve the city and the region and all of those towns. We would just have all of that come together. But I also realize that, track is important to any entity that's in the railroad business. So those discussions and a lot of our public meetings are about what can we do to make sure that the track works for everyone.
Recently, council members, a few of them, proposed using the hotel tourism tax to pay for transit projects. The tourism industry pushed back and pushed back hard. For the record, your stance on this?
Well, I believe that when you make a commitment and you tell people that you're going to use money a certain way, and they say that we're going to help you accomplish that we keep in our trust. And so earlier, I think that the thing about it, I don't think that the council members were really thinking about, well, what does this mean for the hospitality industry, as much as they were thinking, how do I get more money in Charlotte to make it possible for us to build our infrastructure, which we are really in need of. But I think that the method should be that we have to tax our people and not tax specific industries just because there's a pool of money available.
And what should that money be used for? I mean, I know it's tourism thing, but going forward, specific projects, are we talking about Bank of America Stadium? What should that money be used for?
Well, that's exactly what the law says. It has to be used to extend the ability for people to have great experiences of tourism inside of our city. So you think about Spectrum Arena and how we have to continue those upgrades. The world in sports is changing quickly, and we're going to have to work to keep up, and that money should be used for that purpose.
All right, back to transit for a second. We're sort of skipping around. If not a tourism tax, then we go back to the impasse we've had for years, and that's the one-cent sales tax to fund the projects. As you know, that requires the state's approval. Republicans in Raleigh have seemed skeptical, but maybe that's changing. Is it changing? I mean, they've said the words roads first is what the mobility plan needs to be. Any progress there?
I think that you said it very well. When we've had our first plan, it included a number of things that the legislature sees as not exactly really required for what we want to accomplish. When you look at 485 and you look at our transportation roads and things like that, they said, this is something you ought to consider first. And we have done that. So we have a roads first segment of what we want to accomplish, but we also know that we want to be able to put commuter rail on our agenda so that we can move more people. People say, well, you've got the express lanes, you can do all of that. But I know, and that if there's an accident anywhere, we want to be able to see people on a train driving straight through that without having to stop and be in traffic on their commutes.
A lot of people agree with you and look at Charlotte and think, do we want more roads? Do we want more cars? Is that really the solution for a city like Charlotte?
I think that we want roads that work best, and we're going to have to look at technology a lot around how a road's built and what's necessary. It's not, like the highway system where you're going to have tons and tons of road miles. But what do we need to do to make sure that people can transport themselves to our employment centers? And what's the best method? Is it mass transit? Is it bus rapid transit? Is it commuter rail? Or is it just a safe way of driving on our roads?
Ed Driggs recently said that he still hopes to get it on the ballot for next year. Do you think that's still a possibility?
I think that we need to, if we get the opportunity from the legislature to have a referendum, I think it'll take a little bit more time than a year, because if we're going to ask people to do this, we need to show them what we have committed to them to accomplish. So when we look at Charlotte's needs alone, much less the needs around the towns that we're serving, then everybody needs to say, these are the things that we're going to improve, and you will see a difference. I think that's the way that we have maintained trust in our community to approve these kinds of bond referendums. So I believe that along with Charlotte and the towns, people will say, we are going to do these projects. We're going to do these things for roads, and we're going to do this for rail. Let
me pin you down a bit more. So when do you think it would be a likelihood that we could get something like this, the 1 cent sales referendum, on a ballot, if not next year?
I can't estimate what government works, but most people would tell you that if it takes a year in the private sector, it takes a little bit longer in the governmental sector.
I think that's a fair thing to say. You can't predict how government works. All right, aside from transit, SORT session is coming up in Raleigh on, I believe, April the 24th. What are the city's priorities outside of transit? I know the working relationship sometimes has been frustrating between Charlotte and Raleigh. I also know Tarek Bakari was up there yesterday tweeting that he had newfound confidence. What are your legislative priorities as a city for state lawmakers?
Well, we've been very, very fortunate to have both the Speaker as well as the President of the Senate to talk with us and to continue to engage with us. It's always helpful to have Ed Driggs working with us in terms of what we want to do for mobility. I believe that our real efforts are going to continue to be around how do we move people around and how do we incur more economic development opportunities so that we can put our residents to work in a way that they can work with dignity and afford to live in Charlotte. Our council priorities are certainly around that same idea. We want to make sure people have a safe place to live, a decent house to be in, that they have a decent job, one that provides them dignity, and the way to move back and forth between that is we talk about commuting.
Still come on Flashpoint, homicides surging in Charlotte in the first part of the year. Next, while the mayor says this is going to be an ongoing issue with no quick fix.